Hey there, it's Chris. Welcome back to the Kai Schulen project. We're a little busy between the last session and this session. I got a number of things done. First off, the obvious, we hardened everything again. And as I said before, I was debating whether or not to do a couple extra folds in the camo part. And I did a lot of work on the camo part between the last session and this one. I accentuated a number of the folds up here. I accentuated on the folds up here. I accentuated some more down on this side. This gives good kind of shadow lines in here that we didn't have before. And if you want an idea of what it looked like from before to after, I did not touch this half. So you can see this is kind of what the other half looked like before, only now this looks incredibly plain. This you can actually see, again, the shadow marks. And that's because I'm going to hold off on this one. I'm going to make the rifle first. And then once the rifle is made on here, I can have then the folds kind of go up into it where it leans against the arm. And they can be used to, A, make sense when it's leaning up against an arm and kind of be right there. And also I can make this so it holds the rifle up because there's not much shoulder over here for it to hold up on. So this half will be held off until the rifle. But yeah, this is kind of what the whole thing looked like if you want to know before. And there we are now. But this time, we're actually going to have kind of a two-parter stuck into one. Actually, I can take this off. Also, in there, I kind of aged this a little bit. I put a couple cracks in here. I made it so it kind of looks a little more battle-scarred. So we're going to get to that. It's kind of held up by friction right now, but once everything is painted, I could always glue that one down. That's a non-issue. But this one is going to be all about the head and hair. So this is where it's nice having played the game, and I can just use images from the game. And there are a couple different ways I can go about doing this. Typically, what I do is I would kind of have, or one way I would like to do is have maybe the hat be one piece. I would kind of mold the hair here where it's kind of under the hat, onto the head, reharden that. I can make the hat one piece. And you can see where the ponytail comes out the back. It has the scrunchie on there. I could then make the scrunchie and ponytail come off as a separate piece, and that would be great. Except we have this loop of hair that kind of comes around from the start of the ponytail up and gets tucked into the front of the hat. And we have two little, let's see, wrong thing. And we have the two bangs that kind of come down on the front here as well, which if I were to make the hat one piece and the ponytail separate, doing this loop would be really awkward. And I would then need two additional pieces that would just be for the bangs, and those are things that get lost and have issues. So I think what I'm ultimately going to do, and not, this is what I'm ultimately going to do, is I'm going to make this base of the hair here where it kind of gets tied up into the back of the hat. I'm going to mold that onto the head, harden that. Then the hat, the scrunchie, the ponytail, all these other pieces, that's going to be an entire separate hardening. That's going to be an entire separate piece. That way this is all tied into one piece, and I can just tie the bangs here up front into the hat. And as long as I'm careful taking things on and off, which could be a little hairy, but except for painting, it should never come on and off, that shouldn't be an issue. Also, what's a bonus on this is if I ever want to take the camo on and off, depending how I'm feeling for display purposes, the ponytail comes out far enough that it really doesn't hit the camo. It just kind of comes out and just kind of drops down. So this may not be an issue. So that said, let's get to work. So like I said, it is nice. We have the game image I can literally use to kind of get the idea of what's going on. But oh, sorry, we need to go back to 100% bald character. Sorry, Kai. But it is just the way you are. Oop. Come on. Sometimes this wants to come on, sometimes it doesn't. Or come off, and sometimes it doesn't. So all we need is just kind of get an idea. Now, normally we'd kind of glue this thing. You know, this is just kind of easier doing it when my arms are down. Sometimes it would be nice to just kind of glue this thing on. However, I can, being there's nothing fragile on here, I can just shove this stuff on with friction, and that will hold all of this. So that's all I'm going to use for this part. Just use its own friction to kind of hold everything together. And that should be fine. And hopefully this little part goes by quick because this isn't the exciting part. I would like to get the hat, I think, done in this session. And then next session go and maybe do like the scrunchie, the hair, and the rest of that. But goal on this one is, yeah, get this on. For me, it's going to be a pause. I'm going to leave, turn this thing off, harden everything, and then come back. For you, you're going to see kind of nonstop. I'm just going to, this should be done within like 15 minutes. So I can harden it and come back this session with no issues whatsoever. And then, yeah, hopefully get kind of the hair, or the hat part going after that. So I think what I'm going to do is have this here, and I'm going to make kind of another little kind of nub on the top, so the hat will have something to just kind of sit on, keep it in place. Otherwise, I know you saw when he did the rain, when I brought her out for the skirt detailing and how I did that, and I showed in the end that the hat doesn't really sit on, unless you put it on 100% right, it doesn't really have a place to sit on her head. It looks a little awkward when it's there. So this one I'm going to make it so it has to sit kind of correctly in here. Okay, so we want to come down, looks like just a little bit more. You're going to come down a little more on the back of the neck. Now what I probably should have done is taken my posture over there and just rolled out a nice little piece for this, but didn't do that. So we may just be taking a tiny bit more time than we ultimately need, but that's okay. Alright, we're almost there. We almost have the blank kind of in here, and then we can start styling. Alright, here we go. I need just a little bit down in front of the ear. Just a little light something down here. A little light something on this side. Presumably it's going to be the same on both sides. And already it's looking better. Already it's looking much, much better. Okay, so now we want to kind of, don't cut too much out. It does kind of go right above the ear. So we can take anything under the ear out just a little bit, or kind of push it up just a little. And then kind of in the front it comes down just a little, it comes in, and then pretty quickly goes up. Am I on camera? I'm in my shadow of the camera, but I am on camera. Okay, so that's going to come down a little, that comes down a little. We're not too bad. I can even bring you up maybe just a little bit more. And I think we want the head itself to come back just a little bit more. I can see on this, definitely the neck comes down and it kind of comes back. So I'm going to add just a little more to the back side. Again, it's okay if the top of the head is not correct. We just need anything under the hat to kind of be correct. Thankfully, in a situation like this, the hat will save us a decent chunk of frustration stuff because we don't need anything up above to be. I was about to say perfect. We don't need anything up above to be good. Forget perfect. It doesn't have to be anything. Okay. Okay, we're starting to get a little better out there. Now again, I was about to say in the other image she's kind of looking downward a little bit, so it's going to be, no, she's looking downward here too. So we do want that head coming back just that little bit. That said, that is not balanced. That is not balanced over there. So let us get this so. Need this to look good. Making the hair part is going to take just a couple seconds to do. Getting the blocking here out is the trick. That part of the hair is going to be really, really quick. But we do need to be balanced. Okay. Here we go. Doing good. All right, that's a little better. So at this point, I'm just going to add just a little piece to the top of the head here. Even this might be too much. And this is going to be so the hat has something it can kind of slot itself into. So similar to the body, I'm just going to do this and make ourselves just kind of a little squarish, rectangle-ish kind of piece. That didn't do it. There we go. Again, this will look ugly now, but this will make the next part a little bit easier, even more so if I did this kind of centered, which I didn't. All right, there we are. I could even just drill a hole and have a wire go in here. So worst case scenario, if this doesn't work, I can always do that as a fallback. There's enough volume on the hat itself to make that work. But all right, that'll help for the next step. Just having a little plug. Okay, and all we really need to get this hair right is the hair is going to come to pretty much a point back here. And it looks like all we need is just a little bit of kind of this. So you see all we're doing is kind of getting our hair to come right back to that general point. I should keep this thing slightly out of the shadow of I keep kind of casting. So that's going one direction. That's going back there. You do kind of the same on this. Have this kind of come. That comes up here. This kind of comes down. And none of this part up there matters. That's really all we need for this part. I can clean that thing up a little bit. But that's all we're going to do here. I'm going to do a little cleanup off camera, kind of make it look good. I'm going to harden that. Then we're going to come back. So you can see that is our base layer right there. And then we're going to make the hat, make the hair, and we're going to make this look all good afterwards. So hang on just for a second, and I will be right back. And this will be hardened at that point. So be right back. And we're back. And in the intro we did do the hardening stuff. And before that, rather than just have these straight lines I had done before, which you saw me do right there, I kind of angled them a little bit to give them a little more of a 3D texture on each of them, kind of cleaned it up, and bim bam boom, done. We have what we need. Give me 1 second to get some of the things off my computer here, now that we've done all that kind of crazy stuff on that half of things. And whoop, as I lose everything. And here we go. We're gonna have a fun time making this hat. Now, if we come back up here, just to make life easier, this little hat that I'd been kind of putting on before, in terms of this, the height-wise actually wasn't too terrible. Size-wise, it's actually not terrible what I started with compared to what it's supposed to be. So we're just gonna go with that, and this is gonna get a little funky because I know it's gonna happen. We're gonna be kind of taking it on and off, kind of like how we did between the body and the legs. We had to keep taking it on and off so the two parts wouldn't stick to each other in the end. So we're gonna have a little bit of that going on here, just so when I do this hat, it's not gonna stick to the head, because I know it's gonna happen. I mean, that's how the hair itself here was kind of popped on. We just kind of pushed it on and didn't have to take it off. But as long as we kind of do this a couple times over, we should be okay. And I keep saying we because you're part of the team. That's how it works. Okay, so first off, I just want to get, and I think we might be in a place where I need to break open a brand new brick of clay, because I'm getting to that point. We're kind of running low. And I'd have to double check from the videos. I forget if I started with a brand new brick or if I had a little left over from the bank, or I finished the last brick off the, or I finished the, where this one was started on the bang project, so I had a little bit less than the full amount to work with on here. I'm not really sure, but overall, again, she's becoming, I feel like I've been saying this for all of the recent ones, but becoming a more massive figure than I figured she was going to be in the end. Although I did kind of know this was going to take up a lot. This always, anytime you have like a cape, a cloak, anything of that nature, it does take up a lot of clay. And I do realize that. That's not a surprise. That is not a surprise at all. Okay, so right now I'm just trying to get a big enough piece on here that it can kind of hold itself together as I kind of pull. without doing stuff like that. But again, we're going to take a couple of these on and offs, and then it should hopefully kind of start to stay after that point. Where is all my stuff? And hopefully we'll get the hat at least looking like a hat by the end of this session. That's kind of the goal. We still have 40 minutes to go. It's only 20 minutes in. We can do this. All right, it's not a particularly tall hat. But we do need you to kind of come up straight over here. So I think this is going to be kind of throwing a lot of clay on here and then kind of carving, kind of more of a carving down what we need after that, rather than kind of carving as we go. Although there's going to be a fair amount of kind of actually molding this as we go. All right, so we're starting to get the frontal piece on here. That's good. Kind of don't want to take that thing apart yet. I want to get a basic shape on this first before I take apart the other hat, the trial hat. Let's see, we're gonna need to, you know what? I think it's time we open the next brick. Now this is the last brick that I have in this. Where's my knife? There's my knife. So I'm in the market to order some more of this, which I'm not in a mad rush to get some more, but it would be kind of nice to have some more clay at this point at my disposal. I feel like I haven't had to cut a big old chunk of this off in some time. So, boop. All right. We don't need thin sheets of this, but again, this helps. I got this thing to need all this stuff through. We're not on 7, are we? Oh no, we are on 7. But I did get this literally to knead all the dough without getting my fingers and all that tired, so we're doing it. All right, once more through here. Boop. All right, that did its job. Time for me to get back to mine. All right, where am I looking? We're looking this direction. So our hat's kind of coming around. Something like that. It's kind of ambiguous where the hair is actually coming out of, because it's kind of coming out of the top. Oop, where's my pointer? It's kind of coming out the back of the hat, like you would expect a ponytail to come out to. But then the scrunchie goes down like twice as far as it would theoretically need to if it were coming out the back of the hat. So I think there's some shenanigans going on in this design. I definitely have a feeling there's some shenanigans happening, but that's okay. We can deal with that. Okay, I've been pushing everything into the head, which is, I'm not sure if that's good or not. So let's try to get this back off again. Actually, this will be good. This will give me an excuse now to cut the edge of this nicely. All right, good. It's starting to keep its shape a little better, which is nice. It's not just instantly caving in on itself. Now, I'm not sure if I have the hat going up, down, whatever on the head quite right yet, but for the immediate moment, I'm not super concerned on that particular detail. I want to get kind of the height where it needs to be, and then we'll deal with the sides where it needs to be, and then we'll kind of, work from there. Once we get the proportions down, then we start actually detailing it out. it doesn't go up super high, but it is a very flat kind of top to it, so the back of this is not correct. So let's at least get a little more kind of thrown on back here. Yeah, sides are very vertical. So it doesn't actually mold around the head. It more just kind of goes straight up once we get the outer dimension. And then it has a very flat top. So this will just take a couple minutes to get ourselves into that position. But front is kind of getting there. What I should do is get... right, I did a number before. It was roughly from kind of the eyes to the top was roughly the size of a knee pad. So I'm looking at something that's about there to top. So I am actually slightly high at this, which is okay. So if that's going to be generally the top, I can just do this. And that gives us roughly that. We're going a little bit wide on the side over here, so that's okay. Like I said, this is how we're going to kind of go about it. We're going to just get generally our form and then kind of carve it to size. It's really weird without the brim, but we're gonna get to that part a little later. Back still needs a little bit more. Or at least kind of up top here, and the back needs a little bit more. Yeah, I think this brim is going to bring it all together. And I'm really looking forward to these sides. These sides are just... I love those sides. They're awesome. They make this character. They make our Kai. Even if half the game takes place in winter, and she never has them down covering the ears for reasons. Then again, in any TV show, do they ever have somebody like wearing a hat or wearing something like that where it actually covers the ears? Probably not, because it blocks the view of the actor or actress or whatever. And it doesn't look right. All right, can we get you off? Yep. Now, once we kind of get the proportions of this correct, this should become much easier to get on and off at that point, because then we're going to stop really pushing down on the head, and life will be a little better. But until then, that's kind of what it's going to be kind of what we're dealing with. Although we're getting close. We're getting close. Okay, so if I'm looking down, if I'm looking straight, we really do want this to kind of come straight back. Let's get this off. I might have cut down a little too much. I might need to have it come down a little bit. We're going to see how we are on the face. And yeah, I think I actually do want you to come down just a little bit more, because I know I had made it kind of end right above the brows. I'm looking at the image on the side. Let's see if we can go with, yeah, it kind of sits. Oh, that's fine. I can just push you down a little bit and it goes down a little bit. How about that? Right about there. That looks like it kind of works. Round off this. It's kind of smooth off. We're going to make the side kind of smooth, and then again, if we come back to this one, you can, whoop, come on, computer. You can see here there are kind of wrinkles and stuff in the middle. There's a lot of kind of little mini folds and all that. We'll put all those on very soon. But start with the idealized form and then work our way towards the actual form. Okay, what we do need though is this does need to be smooth. No matter what, this bottom brim has to be smooth. Even back here, even though that's going to be hidden by that giant scrunchie, which between now and the next session, I need to figure out how to do that. So, everything's under control. We just have a little bit of problem solving to do. Hopefully, I'll be doing that off camera and not on camera. Because otherwise, you might just see me staring at this thing for 10 minutes as I try to figure out what the heck I'm doing with that scrunchie. Because haven't had to do a scrunchie before. I can already think of a couple different ways to go about it, and I'm not happy about any of them, to be honest. Okay. So if I were to take that, just at least put this fake brow on the front. And I do believe our brow is going to need to be... That's kind of looking like a hat now. That's kind of looking like something. It looks like it goes up a little bit in the back. I think I want to take just a little bit down. Back there. And we got to even ourselves out. No hard edges on this. We do not want hard edges. Alright, let me move my watch over to where I can actually see it. Okay, so brim itself is going to need to be bigger than this. It's going to be, or at least wider than that. Okay, that's not so bad. Okay, we do have a hat kind of going on over here. That's good. I don't have a hat coming off over here though. Less good. Okay, it's not attached in the back. That's good. That's something. All right. Head with hat. And once again, have that. And we have that. Okay. So if we have that as our base cap, and actually I can probably use you on here. Which actually, if I am using you on here, let's actually try to connect it to... Am I on camera? Oh, I'm very on camera. Haven't been looking at my monitor in a little while. Need to make sure things are still good. Again, start with things that are kind of nice and smooth. Start with smooth and we can go from there. And actually, I don't really need to worry about this because it looks like there's a little piece that goes in there, which I'm going to deal with actually. I was about to say I could deal with that later, but actually I probably should deal with that sooner rather than later. Because I'm not really going to be touching the brim to do stuff. I'm going to be hitting the rest of the hat doing everything else. So maybe that's going to be worth getting done now. Okay, so let's see. What do we have? We have you. So there is... Take a little bit of you and we do our little kind of snaky thing. I probably should... You know what? Give me 1 second. So when I hardened that hair on the head, I just kind of stuck you on here, and I can keep doing that just so I don't have to keep holding that as I make any individual detail on this. So what I want is I want a little bit of a snake. I want my kindergarten clay snake thing going. Let's do it. While I have all of this stuff in the way. Heck, you can even see the foot of the camera I'm using in the way. That's awesome. Looks like it's just the very start of this is a little thicker. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and say that, A, you can barely see that on camera, and B, I don't need all of it. So let's just start with you. And there is a piece that just kind of runs. Realistically, it runs from one end of where the flap kind of goes up to the other. So where's the tool I need is over here. So we just want to move you this direction. And I'm just kind of pushing it in enough that it holds itself in here. And I can just leave those two ends long for right now. That's gonna be fine. Oh, and now the brim has 1, 2, 3 different. It looks like it has a piece that kind of goes in the front. 8. Oh boy. You know what? We're gonna do the same thing on this. I'm just gonna cut you down a little bit so it makes it a little more manageable. Yeah, we're going to probably do a little bit of touch up on this before hardening, but at least we get this in here. Because I'm sure the front view is not particularly great. Okay, let's cut the end of this off a little bit. Get that out of here. Realize that this actually isn't installed at all in this. because that's moving a little bit. We don't want that to move. That moving is bad. How are we doing on time? Okay. Hat's not going to be completely done this time, but we're going to do what we can. Let's see, I think on the inside I might just draw these lines on the inside of it. That may not be the piece to go for this. Now we're going to do what we can. Go nice and slow. I can barely see these marks, so I'm not sure you're going to see anything. Okay, that was just reinforcing the mark I had just done. There we go. Yeah, there's that kind of going on over there. Okay, so now we have a loop around the entire hat. Kind of starts in the middle. Kind of starts up just a little bit towards the front, and then kind of comes down a little bit towards the back. Okay, I'm looking at the side view image. Yeah, on the computer, I'm looking at the side view image here. Yeah, front has other stuff going on. That's good to know. Yoink. Okay, let's try looking at the image that actually matters. So you come down. And then come up. And back down. Okay, so this does not look good, but now we can use these guys to kind of straighten things out. So I want the bottom, I need the middle to be kind of right in there. And then it comes up. Not super high, but it does come up a little bit. And it kind of has that hard edge, and it comes down and around. All right, now the trick. Duplicating that on the other side. I feel like I hadn't centered it particularly well, so I'm just kind of removing this to the center. Alright, come on, get up in there. You're going to go up just a little bit more. Okay, we're getting there. we're getting there. We're getting close to what we want. We're not centered and we're not particularly neat, but I can migrate things over a little bit. That's not a problem. Just like that. Kind of still just a little bit off to the side, but and we join somewhere back here behind that whole scrunchy mess. Glad I rolled out as much as I did, because that was actually a pretty dang good amount. Okay, just kind of need to straighten some. That's not the good one to straighten things out with. Let's see, ear flap things don't need to go out this far, so I can take some of this off. Actually, shouldn't need to worry too much about that. The ear flap's going to cover that part. Okay, so we have that in there. We now have a little kind of detail going on. Yeah, we have probably a little bit of touching up, but we have something to start with over there, so that's good. All right, what do we want to do next? Next with that, actually, with that, it looks like the fabric actually comes in a little bit around here. So you get that feeling this is actually kind of pushing in around, all the way kind of around. And up top, we actually want a little more up top. Because if we, not you, come back to you, it looks like up top kind of folds in and out just a little bit, kind of throughout. So I want just a little piece kind of up there. Let's get it kind of folding onto this. I feel so bad. I'm doing everything like right in the shade and shadow. So you can't really see everything. I'm just kind of putting a couple little undulations in here. It would really help if this would actually smooth out onto the pre-existing stuff. It really would. Because then And from that, it looks like we're getting a couple little not much, but it's going to be just kind of a couple little folds kind of going on in here. We have that. We can take a little bit off. I'm not doing any talking. That's not good. Dead air time is still not good. Well, I figured it was going to be probably 2 or 3 hours to do the hat and hair. We might be closer to this. I don't think it's going to be done next time. We're going to be looking at the clock now. We're almost done on this time frame. So we're going to see where we go from here. But But in addition to those folds, once we get up top here, I can at least do that part, is we do have a very defined top. Alright, so if we have that, I'm not trying to dig deep. I think I just went too deep. I want this to be a shallow cut. Stuff stuck all over my hands in weird places. Okay, there we go. Get this off. Get this around. We'll kind of smooth it off. And then I think next time we're going to be doing the ear flaps and the scrunchy stuff in the back, hopefully starting the hair. And then we'll see where we go from there. But at least this was a decent start. Although it feels like nothing's getting done only because I'm recording this in 2 separate sessions, so I need to remember a decent chunk of the session came earlier when I did the hair part. So yes, what I got done on the hat is a little limited, a little bit because of that. So just need to take that into account. Alright, so the hat kind of goes up. Now what I could do is just add a little bit right to the middle here. So it looks like it's kind of more solid fabric on the side, but the head is still pushing up, the head/hair is still pushing up the middle. And then I need to remember to take this hat back off before as I'm pushing down on this, not just completely sticking this to the head again. Like I probably am. Would be bad. And really, I don't need to get all of the folds of this out, if only because there would be some folds in here, so I don't need this part to be smooth, smooth, smooth. Because if the head is pushing the fabric up, there will be some shenanigans going on fabric-wise. So don't need to worry too much about that. I'd say this is, compared to where we started, we have a little bit of a thing going now. So that's where we're going to end on this one. Next time we're going to come back, and we are definitely going to finish the hat on the next part. And then we're going to see what we can do on the hair-wise. But yeah, I take you off and take... And now we come into the part we're going to have problems with, which is, again, our overhead light. So the face is always going to be in shadow. That's just, unfortunately, part of what this is. Not much I can do on that, but no, I think we're starting to look okay. The hat's not looking too bad. I think we're going to do maybe a little more in the middle there, just so it kind of pops up so the head looks like it's doing a little something. But it has that wrinkly look. I'm kind of okay with that. But yeah, next time we'll get the ear flaps. We'll re-hump the middle part a little bit there. And then we'll start on the scrunchie and the hair down the back. And it'll be good. And until then, and until next time, enjoy.